can't explain your business model to an 8-year-old, I don't want it. Listen, I'm a skeptical person by nature. I trust but verify. I ask a lot of questions. I do my research. And if something doesn't smell right, I'm out. So if you've been watching a lot of these YouTube videos on how to make passive income, and for some reason you are yet to make the $1,000 a month that they all seem to promise, it's not you. Not all side hustles are beginner friendly. Some of them have a lot of the smoke and mirrors going on, and others are set up like pyramid schemes, meaning only the people at the top are meant to profit from the side hustle. At a time when an egg seems to cost more than an ounce of gold and our dollars just aren't stretching as far as they used to, we are all out here looking for extra streams of income. And I don't want you to get discouraged because there are some genuinely legitimate side hustles out there. You just need to know what red flags to look out for, which is why in this video, I'm sharing with you 5 red flags that I typically look for when I'm researching legitimate side businesses to get into. The first red flag for me is when people lead with how much money they have in their bank account as a selling point for getting into that line of business. Now, don't get me wrong. You are getting into that side hustle to make money. Yes. However, if you can't tell me anything else about why this is a great side hustle to get into, besides look at the dollars I have in my bank account, it's a red flag for me. Now, let me share a little anecdote with you. I used to follow a business owner that I thought was doing some amazing things. Now, after years of following this individual, they shared a confession that early on in their career, they used to share fake photoshopped screenshots. Essentially, they use this as an aspirational thing for themselves. Now, I totally get that. I've done that myself on my vision board where I photoshopped 100,000 YouTube subscribers and I put it on my vision board, but I don't put it on my resume, right? I don't put it out there telling people that this is legitimately how many followers I have or how many subscribers I have. Of course, you could verify that, but we can't necessarily verify what's in your bank account. So for me, if the only proof that you have is a Photoshop screenshot of how many sales you've made or what's in your bank account, for me, it's a red flag. I would like to see other people talking about following your methodology and earning that amount of money. I want to see other people talking about your method to making that money and how the method or the framework actually has worked for people over and over again. I would not start a side hustle or a business for that matter based on someone's say so that this is how much they made from doing whatever that business was. I would want other data points in order to go into that line of business. So just be wary when you see too many flashy screenshots of this is how much I made with no other data points to back up the fact that they actually did go into that line of business to make that money. For all you know, so much more went into them making that money. So be wary of it. The next red flag for me is that celebrities are endorsing this line of business. Now, when you think about the reason celebrities endorse things is because this is their work. They get paid, and in exchange for what they are paid, they say whatever the person paying them wants them to say. That's typically how it works. For example, Kim Kardashian was recently fined $1.26 million by the SEC because she endorsed a crypto company and did not disclose that she was paid $250,000 by that company to say that whatever they sell was great. Now, there are some people who would follow Kim Kardashian off a bridge, and when she said invest, they invested. Now, that's not the only instance of people taking the say-so of prominent people or celebrities and investing all their money in one place. And when things go downhill, they blame those people. But listen, what you don't know on the back end is that they are being paid to say whatever they're saying on Twitter. So I would do a little bit more research than Kim Kardashian said to invest in X or start X business before you do it. Don't get me wrong. She is a great businesswoman in her own right. So I don't want to pick on her specifically. But in general, whenever celebrities start endorsing certain lines of business or certain products, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt and understand objectively, why are they pushing this so hard? And me as the individual, Can I stomach a potential loss of my initial investment into that business? If your answer is no, if you can't afford to lose the $1,000 or $10,000 that you will have to put into whatever business in order to get started, then you probably need to do a little bit more research into whether or not this is a valid side hustle that you need to be going into. The next red flag is one of my biggest issues with a lot of these passive income videos, and that is they never talk about the back end. They never talk about the cost and the work it takes in order to produce the results they're talking about. When someone says, I earned $100,000, I earned $60,000 from XYZ digital product, they don't talk about the fact that they're running Facebook ads. And in order to make the $100,000, they may have had to put up $50,000 in ad spend. And for you who's just getting started, you want this to be a passive line of income. And they're telling you all you have to do is put your knowledge into a PDF, put it on Gumroad, sell it, bam, you're good to go. And what they're not telling you is in order to attract the people who are going to purchase $100,000 worth of that ebook, you're going to have to put in a lot of money into ads, or they have an existing audience that already trusts them and is going to buy whatever they put out there. They have a great email list that's very responsive, that opens all their emails, that clicks all their links. And that is why they are able to make so much off of an ebook. Now, you getting started, it may not be beginner friendly for you because there are all these other steps you have to do before you enter that line of business. There are all these things you have to set up in the back end in order for it to become passive income. So be aware of that when you are going into that sort of business and people are telling you how easy it is to create something. And they're saying once you create it, it takes you an hour and you're going to eat forever. You need to have a healthy dose of skepticism around how it is that they are able to get the results that they are talking about. Now, no one's saying that the results are impossible. It's just going to take a little bit more work that you may not be aware of. So you probably need to do a little bit more research after you see the video into how this actually looks in practice. What is step 1, 2, 3 going to look like? And oftentimes these videos are just listicles and they don't have the time to go into the details, or they're hoping that you will buy a course or a service from them in order to learn the details. And I don't fault them for doing that, but you as the viewer, I want you to be aware that that's what's going on here. The next red flag for me is you can't explain the business model to an 8-year-old. If you can't tell me in one sentence succinctly what it is I'm supposed to do in order to make money doing this side hustle, I'm out. A lot of people overcomplicate things, so you get lost in the details. And they simply do this because they want you to pay them in order to learn the details. And by the time you get in there, you find that this really isn't what you thought it was going to be. I love when people are upfront with me. They tell me exactly what it is that is required in order for me to do something. And once I've wrapped my mind around the concept and I think, yes, this is a line of business I want to go into, then I can pay you additional money in order to learn the actual details of what goes into standing up the business. However, don't talk circles around me. Don't make me feel like I am not smart enough to grasp whatever it is you're doing. If you can't explain your business model to an 8-year-old, I don't want it. Now, the next red flag for me is if only one group of people seems to talk about that side hustle. Now, you know what I mean. You go into YouTube because you're curious about a certain side hustle. You look it up and video after video after video is the same type of person. Now, I need to tread lightly here because I'm not saying that if only one group of people talks about it, it's automatically not a legitimate form of business or it's automatically a scam. I'm not saying that at all. But for me, if it's seeming like this is a side hustle that was cooked up at someone's frat party, I'm skeptical automatically. As someone who has a diverse pool of friends, a diverse pool of business associates, I will often turn to that group of people for advice. I will ask, do you have any experience with XYZ? And if for some reason they do not have experience with it, then it starts to seem fishy to me. So whenever I do research on a subject matter, I would like to see more than one type of person. I would like to see more than just stay-at-home moms talking about it. I would like to see more than just Black men talking about it or white men talking about it. Whatever the case may be, I want to see a diverse group of people coming at it from a lot of different perspectives so I can then pick and choose what seems to work for me. So if you are looking at any side hustles and only one group of people seem to be the keepers of the knowledge, I start to get a little bit skeptical about whether or not there are going to be some other barriers in the back end to me entering that field as well. Is it going to be a little bit more difficult for me to succeed simply because historically only one group of people has had access to whatever it is that it takes in order to be successful in that field? So take that with a grain of salt, do your research, and just make sure that you are comfortable with the source of information that you are seeing out there before you jump into starting any one kind of side hustle. So for me, those are the main red flags I'm looking for when I'm starting anything new. I'd love to know, what other red flags have you noticed as you have started looking into side hustles? Have you been bitten by any side hustles that didn't actually work after you'd seen a video on YouTube? I'd love to hear your anecdotes about that as well. But if you are looking to build a business for yourself, I do host the She's Off Script podcast, and every week I'm sharing advice from women who have built businesses and created a unique blueprint for their own success. One of our upcoming new episodes is one on drop shipping. And there are a lot of men out there talking about drop shipping, but this is going to be drop shipping from the perspective of a woman. If you're interested in hearing that, subscribe and stay tuned so you don't miss that new episode of the podcast when it drops. All right, with that, we'll see you right back here next week for another new video. Bye.